I think Pops would say Sam.
You'd be like, Sam!
That was really good.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Witchqueen has been out for a few days.
Where witchqueen stacks up in comparison to other
Today we
expansions.
are going to be diving into my impressions of the Witchqueen.
Wait a minute, you have no idea who I am. Well, hi, my name is Nork, and I'm here to talk about Destiny. You could probably tell that by the title. Destiny, or specifically Destiny 2, has its flaws. If you play the game, you probably already have some ideas that you're just wanting to scream at the screen right now. But just hold on, because I probably already know what it is. Or maybe I don't. In this video, I wanted to look back at the Witchqueen campaign after a few months and really talk about how I feel about everything that's been added. Oh, and spoiler, I've been a firm believer in that Bungie is heading in the right direction, but they usually take one step forward and two steps back. Now, you gotta remember, Destiny is a good game, or even a great game, but it could be better. Now, before I get flamed, I agree that the Witchqueen is really up there compared to the other expansions, but it's not really all that. What really carries is the campaign for me, like that's not even a question. Oh, and spoilers for the two people who didn't play the campaign yet, or haven't seen anything on it yet, I guess. Bungie's storytelling is the best it's ever been, and their changes to how the campaign works is phenomenal, making the legendary campaign both fun and still keeping you on your toes. Chaff. They also actually gave us an incentive to do it with guaranteeing a choice of one of the two new exotic armor pieces, and a colorful little emblem. But that's really it. The throne world is gorgeous, Bungie's art direction is at the top of their game like always, only that's the extent of Witchqueen for me. Oh, and how can I forget the one thing Bungie could never mess up? That sweet, sweet soundtrack. With the release of Witchqueen, Bungie introduced us to weapon crafting where, you guessed it, are able to craft any of the available 1 to 3 weapons of each archetype, if you unlock this blueprint of course. No, I didn't say that wrong. You think you'd be able to craft any weapon you want, or at least all the new weapons that dropped with Witchqueen, right? But no, only this small selection of weapons. Anyway, in order to unlock the blueprint for a weapon, you have to acquire a certain amount of red bordered or deep sight versions of that weapon, either through targeted drops or random drops, and the amount you need varies from weapon to weapon. For each red border, you have to fill up a bar for it to count towards the progress of the blueprint. Now, another draw that crafting brings besides making your own god roll is the option to add enhanced perks. What makes these special over ordinary perks is the massive increases to normal perk effects, like the 0.33% increase to super energy gained from Thresh, or other ones that only increase a weapon's stat rather than improving the perk. Clearly not all of these were made equally. Now, I understand any increase is good technically, but you'd think the enhanced perks would have more of an oomph to really make them worth your time. And thank the Lord for D2 Gunsmith and Light GG, because without them, we wouldn't know what the actual increases are and have to go off of these descriptions. I'm very tossed up about the whole introduction of crafting because the appeal of farming for me was your first drop with a weapon, you'd want it to be like a 1 or a 2 out of 5, then the next a 3 or a 4 out of 5, slowly making your way to that 5 out of 5. Or maybe you get lucky and get your 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 on your first or second drop. Now, depending on the weapon, you just hard focus on getting the red boards to drop and craft your god roll with enhanced perks. Since you're already taking the time, might as well go all the way. You get to personalize the weapon, really make it feel like yours. With mementos lol. I like it, but it feels weird at the same time. Wait a minute, what are these weapons that don't show up in the collections, but show up in the crafting menu? And were they on day 1 of the DLC? The Raid. Bungie's creme de la creme of content. What everyone really saves their pogs for. Did this one hold up to the standards that are Destiny raids? For the raid race, it was filled with a bunch of guitars and bats which really took the wind out of people's sails. But looking past the error codes on day 1 and focusing on the quality of the raid overall, It was another smash hit for Bungie, to the atmosphere, to the lore, to the encounters. All of it was amazing. It even has the most interactive final boss, where the boss is actually an active threat during DPS. Now let's talk about the loot, where I think it's pretty good. The armor looks funky, but in a cool way, with mods that actually do something. I really feel they should either go back to the more general intrinsic armor perks, or make the mods cost 1 or no energy at all, honestly. And yeah, remember those weapons from the crafting table that Bungie did a great job at hiding? Yep, those are actually the raid weapons. Who would have thought? My quick thoughts about them as a whole is that some weapons are way better than others, but they all have a niche and someone who loves them. Something really cool that I liked is that one of the raid weapons is actually an enemy weapon. I'm specifically talking about the Glaive Blue Braze Ruin, which is actually the final boss's weapon. I know Bungie does stuff like this, and this, but most of them are just common enemy guns and all exotics. Maybe if most of them were legendaries, and the boss weapons or the more unique ones were the exotic ones. Like, the lube isn't even the raid exotic, it's just a legendary glaive. No special archetype, no special attacks or animations, just a stick. Wait, what is the raid exotic? It's actually the Void 3.0 promotional material they forgot to put in the season pass. No, really, this exotic literally highlights which void verbs you're supposed to use to make the gun work. It's a really interesting concept for an exotic, leeching debuffs off of enemies and firing them from the gun, and also promoting the team to use it, chaining the debuffs. Though, all my friends who have it says it's lackluster for a raid exotic, and out of place for one too, which I agree with at first glance, but I still just want to try it. Please, Bungie. Fuck, I was supposed to shoot him. Here's an interesting thought. What if they started to make raid exotic armor pieces for each class, instead of or alongside the exotic weapon? I feel like this could change up the expectations of always getting an exotic weapon in raids. Oh, I forgot the adept weapons. Anyway, just craft the adept ones.
Anger is not the way of the gentle.
Alright, Bungie added a whole new weapon type, Glaives. These big knife pulls have fast, somewhat finicky melee attacks, or you could choose to fire a medium range projectile that looks like it should have splash damage, but it doesn't. They also have a front facing shield that charges by landing hits with the projectile, and unexpectedly, this shield actually provides a lot of damage resistance. Glaives on launch mainly left the players confused because at first they hit like a pool floaty, and it was hard to justify using it over other options that hit harder up close, has more range, and can hit crits, or just overall better. After a series of buffs and just progression of time, players have started to pick up on them in the Crucible. With new content usually brings new exotics, and the Witch Queen definitely delivers on that, for the most part. Let's start with the armor, where each class got 2. We'll just go over these real quick. Unkillable. Turrets better.
Oh, hell no.
Overall pretty decent. At least each class gets one good exotic. Next we got the weapons. Now this one is a real mixed bag of really good, mid, or just kinda shite. First we got the CEO of AdClear, Worm.
Nobody's stronger than me.
Which element is getting the best head, not used for its intended purpose?
Bruh.
And we already went over this. I forgot to mention they have to craft the Striga and the Glaives, which makes you tailor them for what you want. Which I guess is nice.
Keep going. You're good. You're good. You're good. And stop. Don't worry, Captain. We'll buff out those scratches.
You guys remember PvP? Didn't think so. And neither has Bungie, honestly. Actually, I can't say that. They gave us 2 returning Crucible maps. I think it was Eternity, and I'm already forgetting the other one. What? You guys wanted a sandbox update? How about the Void 3.0 update, where there's constant invis hunters, everyone gets axiom bolts,
I'm dead, I lost.
No.
and overshield bubble titans. Also this. With the updating of the light subclasses to the stasis customization model, it'll only continue to make the Crucible a joke, but a little colorful mess. The Crucible needs to be removed, get a serious rework, or just please for the love of everything, separate the sandboxes. Listen, I like the Crucible before the oversaturation of ability spam and the addition of certain things. Heck, I still play it just to improve on the little skill that's left in the mode, and to watch the shit show. But my main issue with the mode is that it severely limits the creativity of the game, which is a PvE game first and foremost. It's why we can't have any ammo regen exotics anymore. You saw what happened when he was running around. They always have to ask themselves, wait, how will this perform in the Crucible? Alright, Trials exist. It's always going through an identity crisis. I just want to be able to collect the older armor sets that I missed. Power creep. I know, every live service game suffers from this. It's something that's very hard to solve. We already saw an attempt at that. It's hard to balance between making new stuff that's stronger than our old stuff to have us chase something, and not making the new too weak and we become uninterested. That's why the pinnacle weapons we get now are just sort of guaranteed well-rolled weapons, because it'd be quite hard to try and top the likes of them. Right now I find myself just waiting for the next strongest thing to drop that will phase out my old stuff, getting a decentish roll, and then waiting for the next content drop. Something that can help alleviate power creep is if Bungie started buffing things a lot more than the amount they nerf things. I'm talking about doing more than these little baby buffs. And I know game deving and testing takes time, and I will admit they've been doing a bit better about this lately. But what if there was a weekly PTB or public test build for the community to test some crazy buffs and reworks and give feedback on changes really fast? That'd be cool. Rolls matter, but at the same time don't matter since everything dies instantly regardless of what build you have, or it takes too long to die so you can't even use your builds. The only people who grind for the 5 out of 5 rolls are the hardcore min-maxers with a lot of free time. And there's nothing wrong with that. Seeing perfect stat distributions and rolls come together to kill a boss 5 seconds faster than little Billy can be quite fascinating. When new perks get introduced, there's the usual ones that catch the eye instantly, but other than those, I just dismiss the other ones until Mr. YouTuber tells me which ones to try. I don't just listen to what everyone is calling the God roll. I now try to look at every perk and come to my own decisions for my own rolls. Like, I really started to love Perpetual Motion. Did you guys remember that Destiny 2 is technically a free game? Yeah, I didn't think so, since the only people who play this game buy all the seasons and expansions without question. There's definitely steps in the right direction, with the returning raids being free to everyone, so at least they aren't charging us for recycled content. Smile. Warframe is a good example of a free-to-play game done right. Free expansions, and with enough time and effort you can just about earn anything. Just ignore the Clash of Clans simulator. I was thinking, since Bungie got purchased by Sony, maybe they could tone down the prices of expansions because, in my opinion, I think that's one of the biggest barriers keeping new players from investing in this game. I'm not even going to get into the tutorial this game has. I just wanted to say, I kind of miss seeing people solo entire raids in D1. You still can solo entire encounters in D2, but not the whole raid. I guess you can't anymore due to the removal of self-res, but you didn't even need it to solo most, if not all of them in D1. Just a random thought I had. I also soloed Atrax, but I lost the footage. The seasonal model we have now is great for people with little availability. Not so much for those with a decent amount of time on their hands. Now, I want everyone to experience the expanding storytelling Bungie is gifting us. Hopping on every Tuesday, playing the story, not having to keep up with it during the week. That's great. But what is there for the more hardcore players of the game? Grinding the weapons? Most of the weapons are and the weapon crafting issue pops up, so you don't have to sink in nearly as much time as you did before. There's a dungeon, which is cool. It's got an exotic to chase. That's pretty okay. Armor, lore, but it doesn't last long. What else is there? PvP? Seasons just turned into come back next week for a little progress on that juicy story. Alright, Roided strikes, that's all. The loot is just recycled content from D1 and D2, with a literal new coat of paint, with top of the line perks and adept versions, mods sold separately. It's cool to see a returning legendary once in a while, but I'd like it a lot more if it was at least one new weapon and a returning one. The best chance at getting one of these to drop for you is to get platinum in the strikes. That means you have to kill all the champions, man. They are just not it. It seems Bungie wants to have the freedom and flexibility in regards to build crafting, but being forced to use certain weapon types because there's 2 unslot champs in an activity kinda goes against that. But Nork, it helps keep the meta fresh and tells us to use weapon types that aren't used as much. There's a reason why we don't use sidearms or pulse rifles, especially in more difficult content. You know what would make us use different weapon types? Buffing the lesser used ones. The way we deal with champions is just shoot them with the correct rounds and stun them. Wow! I feel there needs to be a change up as to how we're supposed to deal with champs. A good example of a mechanic that could be used to stun champions are the captains from the Scourge of the Past, where you shoot its weak spots on its front and back to damage it. That could be an example of a 2-player champ, and a different champ will be in the activity based on the number of players there are. Or a melee champ that you have to jump on top of it to stun it. Just some ideas. Oh, and it's real fun to be 2-shot.
I'm using it right now.
Could we get more of those legendary ornaments? I know we still get them on the pinnacle weapons, but these? Compared to these? Come on. They used to do them for the seasonal weapons, but I don't know why they stopped. The community will eat them up. We're desperately in need of another hidden mission like the Whisper one. I don't even have to explain why. Maybe why we haven't got one in a while is to build ramping speculation. Solar 3.0 came out as well and made us immortal and nukes at the same time. What I mean by that is resilience was changed to give you a 40% damage reduction at tier 10. At all times. Not subclass dependent, by the way. You're basically an idiot not to run 100 resilience in PvE. On top of that, they added a new effect called Restoration, which gives you constant health regen. Each class has access to the healing grenade from Warlock, except on a 32-second cooldown at tier 10. Only thing that can kill us now are being Architect and insta-kills. My personal favorite build is the Starfire Protocol one. Also, like 2 weapons can actually apply Scorch without needing a kill. Well, still gives the same damage buff as Bubble, by the way. Increase Outbreak's RPM to ascend it to godhood. But actually, add more energy on armor, please? Or reduce the cost of mods, like taking charge is 3 energy and not base kit still? Same with Kinetic Siphon. I also wish the crafting wasn't as shallow as it is. Like, what if it was similar to how the exotic Galastov was in D1? Being able to change its RPM and firing mode on top of selecting different perks. To go even further, maybe each weapon you can craft had a number of stats you can distribute, so you could have a max range and reload sidearm or something. And can we please get numbers instead of these words like slightly and moderately, please? It's a 1-for-1 for what Dead by Daylight did, and it took them 4 years to finally trust us with numbers. I know the API sites tell you exact numbers, but come on. Really? They don't trust we can understand the numbers? Or maybe we make the game look too complicated. Or maybe it's on the way. Also, can we get more than 4 buffs or debuffs on the screen? Like, come on, there's so much shit going on in the game now, and we can only see 4? It's definitely hard to do internally, but at least let us know if you can't. Unless they did, then I don't know, dude. One last wish is, could we have the ability to transmog exotic armor into legendary armor pieces? because some exotics don't mesh well or don't even shade well. Okay, last wish. Where's the firing range to test things out? No, this does not count. This is a sad attempt at one. Maybe it's a placeholder, but just put one in the tower, please. You could have more advanced options like being able to apply different debuffs on your target, or give yourselves different levels of damage buffs. Wait, how has Xur not gotten new locations in like 3 or 4 years yet? And the material stacking limit makes my brain hurt. This may seem like a lot, but trust me, this is just scratching the surface of stuff that I'd like to see added to the game. Thanks for reaching the end. It really means a lot to me that you stuck around to the end. I know I most definitely missed some things, but my sanity was reaching its limit. I just wanted to share my thoughts on how I feel about Destiny 2 at the moment. I've been with this franchise since the beginning. I remember when I was a wee lad renting D1 from Redbox and thinking, holy shit, this game is awesome. And my friends would laugh at me for it. Later on, I then went on to actually convince some friends to try D2, and they would later fall in love with it and convince more people to play, becoming the squad I play with today. I truly do think this game is one of a kind, from the people who work on it, its community and players, to its beautiful world, storytelling, and the best feeling guns in any game. Also, please watch this video. Anyways, I have some more shorter videos planned for the future. I also plan on streaming over on Twitch, so drop a follow when you can. You can also follow my Twitter, where I occasionally like things I find interesting, but I can keep up to date for when I decide to stream or do other things. Oh, and just a fair warning, the squad I play with do get a little quirky at night.
Imagine like Rykard's quote where he says together and he's like, together! And
No, that's...
We will grab the very gods.
he raps and he's just...
Oh my god. I need to hang out with you.
Yes, you do. Some of the games I'm interested in playing on YouTube and Twitch, besides Destiny of course, include this, and so much more. My last question to you guys is, do you like it when he gets loads of information about upcoming DLC release? Or do you like it when nothing is really told about it and you go in blind? I personally love going into things blind, but I only really like getting told the sandbox changes, cause there ain't no way I'd figure out what they changed. Let me know in the comments. I know this video should have been out ages ago, but I was definitely going through it at the time, and that's just the way it is. But I'm quite happy with how it turned out. But let me know what you liked, or if I should never touch a keyboard again and just play Garden Warfare 2 for the rest of my days. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Later.